Live from our 7 Tasmania studios, your nightly news with Kim Miller begins now.
Good evening. First tonight, Tasmania is on the cusp of becoming Australia's third state to pass right-to-die legislation after a historic day inside our parliament. Our reporter Meg Sides joins us now to explain more. Good evening, Meg. Now, what unfolded today?
Good evening, Kim. Well, this was a significant step forward for the bill, now right on the edge of passing for the very first time. In Parliament, the vote was split 17-7 in favour of the laws. Labor and the Greens all voted for it. Government MPs were divided. 6 Liberals voted for the plan, but while Police Minister Mark Shelton voted with the ayes, he says he's reserving his right to vote against it in the final decision. And while Speaker Sue Hickey didn't get to vote today, she said she would have been in favour. The other 6 Liberal MPs voted against it, along with independent Madeline Ogilvie. Now, this is the 4th attempt to introduce this legislation to the state, but this time round it looks certain to succeed. Emerging from Parliament, Mike Gaffney couldn't hide his smile. It was in August the independent MP introduced his voluntary assisted dying bill. Today, it reached a major milestone.
I didn't realise it is a historic moment, I think. It's one of those pieces of legislation that will be remembered and will be appreciated by those who have to use it.
A marathon debate on the proposed laws continuing for a second day in the lower house. Every MP given the chance to express their view, not everyone supportive.
This bill is not a good thing for the people of our state. Despite what it attempts to offer, it is bad law for our older people.
Emotions running high for Labor MP Jennifer Houston, recalling the moments before her own great-uncle died of cancer.
And he whispered in a voice, what voice he had left. Leave me on the mountain. He would have certainly preferred to end his life on his own terms.
Before, the House split in two, those in favour of the right-to-die laws on the right, those against on the left. Greens MPs Cassie O'Connor and Rosalie Woodruff embracing as the legislation received the support of the majority.
Because I've been in Parliament since the first Greens bill went through in 2009, and so this is the 4th time I've been part of a voluntary assisted dying debate.
Also a victory for Health Minister Sarah Courtenay, who introduced the bill to the House.
I'm feeling relieved, and I'm also feeling very grateful that we had such a respectful debate within the Parliament.
The legislation will now be reviewed before returning to Parliament in March next year for a final vote.
When this first started, I just thought it would be a journey, and now that I'm here, I'm very, very pleased to have been involved with this.
Advocates and sisters Jackie and Natalie Gray sat through the entire debate with baby Tilly.
Having Tilly, it's kind of been like the circle of life for us, so it's been bittersweet. We've lost our mum, but she's healed a part of our hearts, and being here through Parliament with us, it's been very comforting.
But the fight isn't over yet, and they're vowed to continue until it is.
Absolutely, we'll be back till the very end.
A long and emotional journey, edging closer to an outcome. Meg Sides, 7 Tasmania News.
Now, we have some breaking news now that's just been released from the government. An estate service employee has been stood down following allegations of historic sex abuse. For more now, we're joined by reporter Sean McComish. Good evening, Sean. Now, what else do we know?
Well, good evening, Kim. Details are scarce at this stage. All we know is that the employee is from the north. We don't know their age, gender or what department they work for. What the government has revealed is that the allegation was identified through the National Redress Scheme and the matter has been referred to police. Last month, the government announced a commission of inquiry into historic sex abuse at government institutions. And the Premier has warned Tasmanians to brace for more allegations. Kim?
Well, a raid by Border Force officers in South Hobart has uncovered parts for 23 childlike sex dolls. A 28-year-old Chinese national was arrested and is also facing charges for allegedly importing 41 doll parts. The man was granted bail and will next front the Magistrates Court in February. Border Force officers say the commercial nature of the charges is extremely concerning. The owners of Basslink have been told to pay up to more than $38 million over a 2015 cable failure. An arbitrator has rejected claims the incident was beyond its control, but not everyone is calling the decision a victory.
Almost 5 years after Tasmania was plunged into a power crisis, the Battle of Basslink is over. But it's unclear just who the winner is.
The state was already in quite a precarious position before Basslink broke, so we felt it was always going to be difficult to argue all the blame should rest with Basslink.
The company has been ordered to pay $38 million to the state government. Labor says the payout is just a drop in the ocean.
The $38 million that we've received back in the arbitration goes nowhere near the $400 million the Tasmanian taxpayers lost. Goes nowhere near the $150 million it costs for diesel generators to keep the lights on in Tasmania.
The 6-month outage coincided with dangerously low dam levels and threatened to throw the state into the dark age. Hydro Tasmania previously stated losses could top $180 million.
And that was net of the $30 million Basslink facility fee. So effectively, it looks like Tasmanians are going to carry $100 to $140 million of the crisis costs.
Basslink's claim the incident was beyond its control wasn't accepted by the arbitrator. In a statement, the company said it was extremely disappointed with the outcome and would review the decision. The government is also working through what it calls a complex outcome, but insists the state's energy and water storage levels are secure. Sean McComish, 7 Tasmania News.
There's been a momentous day for Qantas in Tasmania, with new flights from the mainland touching down here. The popular Sydney to Launceston route hasn't been flown by the airline in 16 years, but with domestic travel taking off once again, the company says the time is right.
A special salute as Qantas spreads its wings. The airline has launched 3 new routes to Tasmania. It's the first Hobart to Canberra route by the company, while the Sydney to Launceston flight hasn't taken to the skies since 2004. A Hobart to Brisbane run has also been added. It was a day of firsts for many.
Yeah, it's her first flight ever, so I'm sure she's stoked.
The aviation industry has been crippled by the pandemic, but Qantas insists now is the time to branch out.
We know people want to travel domestically, so since putting the flights on there's been great demand and people clearly want to get moving again, which is fantastic.
I think it's a time where Tassie is actually really strong from a demand perspective. We think it'll be a bit of a domestic beneficiary, that ultimately these sorts of things, it's confidence, and it means people have got more choice and better fare availability to come down and explore.
It has been 1 week since Tasmania opened its border to Victoria, and the Launceston Airport CEO says things are looking up.
A couple of months ago the terminal was empty. We were doing a couple of flights a week. We're now at 118 now, so we've moved forward nicely.
Today is the busiest day Launceston Airport has seen since March. 2,500 passengers will arrive and depart by the end of the day, with the final flight touching down at 8 p.m. It's a similar story for Hobart Airport, with 220 flights this week operating at 66% capacity. And while demand's back for leisure travel, the corporate customers are slowly coming back too.
What we are seeing is just that period now before Christmas, there's a few more businesses wanting to fly and get that business trip in just before Christmas, and I think we'll see a lot more of that after that sort of holiday break.
Letitia Wallace, 7 Tasmania News.
He forged $500,000 worth of banknotes, blew up countless safes full of cash, and was involved in some of the nation's most sensational heists. Now, notorious criminal Bertie Kidd lives a quiet life in Launceston, but his infamous exploits are being thrust back into the spotlight in a song penned by the frontman of the Whitlams.
This is the moment two worlds collide, the composer and the criminal. Tim Friedman of the Whitlams fame is fascinated by the story of Bertie Kidd, and it's easy to see why. This is the man who threatened Australia's new decimal currency when he put $500,000 worth of fraudulent $10 notes into circulation. Police caught his associate, but he never dobbed in Kidd.
The copper said to him, "Who else is involved in this?" And he said, "No one." And the copper said, "Well, stick to that and you'll be all right, otherwise you'll go out the fucking window."
Kidd became a master of blowing up safes and even hid himself on a plane taking $1 million cash to banks in Queensland. He also had links to the fine cotton scandal. Kidd warned those involved they'd put too much money on the infamous ring-in.
I said, "It'll blow up." They come and saw me a fortnight before the race. I said, you're going to stuff up. And they did. Amateurs.
With those stories in mind, Friedman penned the ballad of Bertie Kidd.
With these knives, be in and out in 20. Pro Hart, Norman Lindsay and Ken Dunn.
The charismatic Crim had a front row seat as they separated fact from fiction.
Why would 5 blokes be buying antiques at that time of night with balaclavas in the car?
To shift them quickly.
I got in touch with Bertie through his biographer to see if it was okay to name it after him, and he said, "Yeah, fine. You got a bit of it right. So we'll see what's right and what's wrong."
Kidd spent 27 years in prison and staved off Peter Dutton's efforts to deport him when he was recently released. The 87-year-old came to Launceston earlier this year to see his brother, but when borders shut due to COVID, he never left. Even still, Kidd saw his criminal activities as just.
Well, I never had things as a kid up in the slums of London and poor circumstances. And I seen it as a way of getting on in life.
And a captivating one at that. Tom Johnson, 7 Tasmania News.
An advocate for sexual assault survivors has used a global platform to raise awareness of physical consent. Tasmanian performer Adie Delaney creating an online TED Talk focusing on how her circus training can help the next generation.
Unravelling a message from above to be heard firmly on the ground. The trust formed between this circus trainer and her students, a critical learning tool for more than just performing tricks.
Ensuring they're fully informed, ready, and part of the conversation. Because the truth is, I'm not just teaching circus skills, I'm teaching consent.
From the circus studio at Kingston, Adie Delaney also works for Tasmania's Sexual Assault Support Service, chosen to perform a TED Talk, creating a video due to COVID-19 about physical consent to be streamed around the world.
This is a great foundation for communication about our bodies elsewhere that isn't scary or awkward, it's normal and expected.
And aiming to start conversations, especially with young people, on sexual harm and prevention.
In terms of primary prevention, we really need to be normalising consent for children so that by the time they're old enough, they understand that having a choice with anything to do with their bodies is an entitlement.
It's a devastating issue close to Adie's heart, with SAS estimating 1 in 6 girls and 1 in 9 boys across Australia experience sexual or physical violence before the age of 15.
Normalising consent will make one of the biggest differences to these rates of sexual harm. I think having open and transparent conversations around intimacy in general, hearing no as a means to an end, not an obstacle.
You can watch Adie's full TED Talk online. Ruby Kamane, 7 Tasmania News.
And if you or anyone you know needs help or that story caused you distress, you can contact the Sexual Assault Support Service on 1800 697 877. 20 CSIRO researchers have set sail from Hobart, embarking on an in-depth exploration of the Southern Ocean. Leaving this morning on the RV Investigator, the team will deploy state-of-the-art deep-diving robots to observe marine life, studying how showers of dead algae, known as marine snow, pump stored carbon back into the ocean and how this acts as a handbrake for climate change. It's estimated algae removes around 1/4 of all carbon dioxide emitted from burning fossil fuels. Tasmania is known for producing a top drop, and now a Pipers River bubbly has been named the world's best. The internationally renowned Decanter magazine has named the late disgorged 2004 vintage from House of Arras as the world's best sparkling wine, and the team behind it are overjoyed.
Being a 16-year-old wine has all the hallmarks of what we think is great for our style. It's really complex and rich, but it's so bright and vibrant.
Australia's most awarded sparkling wine brand, Carr, says this is the most prestigious one the label has ever received. The finishing touches are being made to 4 new exhibitions at QV Mag. Tomorrow sees a launch of the summer season at the Museum and Art Gallery with this striking artwork as the centrepiece.
It was actually an idea I had when I found an abandoned quarry
full of dead cars in the Highlands camping one time. I thought it would be great to build a giant eagle on this, like a bit of roadkill or something. And
it's a wonderful opportunity to have been able to work with the curators to kind of realise the exhibition.
Two of the shows cast an eye over the museum's past, utilising old work by female artists and decommissioned dioramas. Lovers of the arts will have their hands full in the coming months, with Launceston's Music in the Park series now in its 14th year, and it's returning for another year, featuring live and local talent.
The opportunity to play music in the park and to present our Christmas concert, which we are going to do live here on Sunday week, is a great opportunity for us, and we're really looking forward to it.
We're able to showcase some wonderful talent here in the Rotunda in an extended lineup for our Music in the Park program.
The boutique musical performances will be held on Sundays all throughout summer.
Peter Brock's family and high-profile motorsport names have chosen Alex Peroni as the sport's rising star for 2020. Peroni awarded the Peter Brock Medal after claiming a number of podium finishes throughout the Formula 3 season. The feat even more impressive considering he was coming off a frightening crash the year before. Peroni joins the likes of Mark Webber, Jim Richards and Craig Lowndes as fellow winners of the medal. Fantastic. And for tonight's Friday Flashback, we're going back to 1981 for the 6-day bike race at the old St Leonard's Velodrome. Cyclists would become household names during the annual series. Not only was the 6-day bike race huge for cyclists, it was also a big television event. In 1981, champion cyclists like Graham Hodgkiss, Craig Price and David Allen would light up the St Leonard's Velodrome. And who could forget?
Phil Sawyer's Crazy Horse himself.
Ray James and Jim Cox kept viewers informed, splashing cash prizes throughout the telecast.
And once again, we advise our viewers that there's been an added incentive of $200 for team number 5. Urs Fuller and Craig Price can take a lap in this last hour. An extra $200, but at the moment, they're not riding all that keenly.
Price and Urs Fuller would make one final dash tonight, but it wouldn't be enough.
There goes Big Urs. Look at him go round the outside. There he is, high on the track, Urs Fuller. He may be going to take... No, he's putting in Craig Price for the last sprint.
This is the one. It'll be a Laurie Venn and Craig Price sprint.
Venn and Price. Hopkins, Venn and Price. And Phil Sawyer. Laurie Venn. And Price just behind him. The crowd absolutely roaring.
The crowd has gone mad.
Price around the outside and Sawyer. It's going to be Laurie Venn. Price up on the outside. They got in very close. They got in extremely close, but it was Laurie Venn taking up the final sprint.
The winning pair was, of course, sure to rehydrate in appropriate fashion. As for the ageing St Leonard's Velodrome, that would be superseded just 3 years later when the indoor Silverdome was built. The 6-day bike races days were numbered though, its last spin taking place in 1987. The Crazy Horse and Big Urs, my favourite riders there, Kim.
Definitely, it seems like yesterday too. Thanks very much, Tom.
Good evening. Temperatures rose above average over the east, but well below elsewhere. Hobart and Burnie 20, Launceston 23 and Devonport 21. Maximum today was 24 at St Helens. Friendly Beaches 23, Wynyard 20, Lowhead Grove and Flinders Island 19. King Island and Bushy Park 18 today and Strawn 17. A frontal band slipped off to the east today as an onshore flow brought cloud to the west and south. A developing low has cloud over the Bight. A trough brought cloud to central Australia. Cloud over the far north contains thunderstorms. Tomorrow a deep low develops to our southwest. A cold front extends into South Australia. Troughs remain over the mainland. The winds are 20 to 30 knots from the west before shifting northwest to northeasterly later. Winds may reach up to 30 to 40 knots over the north and west in the evening. We do have a gale warning. Now that's from Low Rocky Point to Sandy Cape and also from Flinders Island to St Helens Point. A strong wind warning for remaining waters. We kick off the weekend with a few showers about. Rain developing for Hobart later, 23, 20 the top for Medina. Rain increasing for Oatlands, 18 the maximum. Launceston expecting a top of 21 with rain developing. Same for Devonport, but 17 the high and just 15 for Lyowini. Burnie 17 degrees with rain increasing. A windy day for Strawn as well with 22 the top and 18 the high for Marrawar and 20 the high for St Helens with rain on the way. Same for Swansea but 21 degrees and 20 for Orford. UV at the top of the very high range at 10. On Sunday, showers again more frequent over the west, central and far south. A few showers into Monday as well, partly cloudy over the east. And on Tuesday, partly cloudy, but the winds will be picking up again. 24 in Perth tomorrow, showers for Adelaide and Melbourne, a possible late storm in Sydney, sunny in Brisbane, 32 there, and stormy over Darwin. Partly cloudy in Hobart, 18 at the moment, 21 in Launceston, Devonport 18 and partly cloudy. I'll see you soon, Kim, at the Channel 7 Tasmania Christmas party. I noticed on the seating arrangement you requested to be next to me. I don't know if that's a good move.
Ha! You get to sit next to me all night, Murph. That'll be wonderful. I have lots to share with you about my family and my children and my dog and all of that. That's your news for now. I'll be back later with updates. Thanks for joining us. Good night.